Hi y'all, Mike Peace Woodturning. Welcome back to my shop. I've got another video. I hope that'll either teach you something or inspire you to do something. But I was out getting rid of an old limb that dropped out of a red oak tree in my yard, and then I thought, wow, this thing's still solid. Let's take it inside and turn something. You know, sometimes green wood is a target of opportunity. So I decided I'd turn some pots. This video is not going to be about how to turn a pot. I've got an earlier video, and if you're interested in that, click on the link here, and you can probably find some even better ones on Richard Raffin's YouTube channel, because he's done several of them on pots. Today I thought I would look at how we might decorate these things with 3 different kinds of finishes.
But let me give you a quick highlight of the process. I turn it between centers, cross grain, so the pith is running parallel, perpendicular rather, to the bithways. I turn it round, I put a tenon on it, I mount it in a chuck in the tenon, hollow it out with various gouges and scrapers, and then I turn it around and put it in a jam chuck and clean off the bottom as shown here, and then I'm ready to go. Dry it out.
I normally don't get in a big hurry to dry projects. I just let them air dry, whether it takes days, weeks, or months. But in this case, I thought I'd accelerate it, and I did for 3 of them. This one I turned this morning. It's still a little green. For 3 of them, I used the help of a microwave, and it's worked real well for me. Basically, I wrapped it in a paper towel and put it inside a plastic bag and cooked it on high for maybe 30 to 40 seconds. Took it out of the bag and let it air dry. Then when it was completely cool, and this is the key, when it's completely cool, then you can give it another dose, maybe at a little less or at a lower volume. But monitor very carefully. Sometimes there's not a lot of forgiveness if you burn up your wife's microwave oven or get it real stinky. But my wife was not in the kitchen at the time, and I got away with it and didn't burn anything up. So do take your time, and that way you can dry these things pretty quick. I think I did maybe three rounds of them. The reason you have to let them completely cool off is because the wood, as the heat drives out the moisture, the cells are going to start changing in structure, and if you accelerate too fast, you're going to tend to have some cracking. Now, these are side grain in that this is the pith going through it. That gives it a little more interesting shape when they dry. So that's how I went about drying them. Now, to ebonize, all you really need is a little vinegar, any kind of vinegar. This is the cheapest vinegar I could find at Walmart. Spilled a little bit of it. Put it in a jar. I mix up just enough for that particular project. It doesn't last forever. And then you're going to put some type of metal, steel or iron metal in there. I've used nuts and bolts, but they take a while to break down. You can use steel wool or wire wool if you do that, because typically they have some oil in the finish. You've got to really wash them with hot water. And this works okay, but let me tell you about the process, the iron that I use that works the very best. Some folks like to use steel wool in their ebonizing solution. Fortunately, for somebody with a grinder like this, you put a magnet in a bag and you just collect all those little filings off sharpening your tools, and you've got some really fine stuff that will mix really fast with that vinegar. So I've mixed some of those little grinding filings up in a small amount of vinegar. It's only been in here for maybe an hour or so cooking, and it's ready. Now keep in mind, because of the off-gassing of this, don't put a metal top on here and crank it down, because it could build up pressure and blow the top off. Either drill maybe a 1/32 inch hole, or in this case I just put a little plastic Pringles top on it. Here's a couple of sample pieces I've got of green wood, and you can see how black it is on end grain and a little more greenish looking on the side grain, and I did this just a few minutes ago. This is pretty green wood. It should probably work the same whether it's green or dry, so let's give it a try and see. don't underestimate the possibilities of making a real mess. So I'm putting a piece of paper down over my finishing turntable. I got an old bandsaw blade I use to set these items on so they don't completely stick on something on the bottom. I'm using gloves just because this stuff can stain your hands. If you don't care, you could use some lemon to get it off. I probably should run this through a strainer. Alright, I got a plastic cup, and I've got some of these anti-static cloths I use for wiping off my safety glasses, and I think it'll probably act as a pretty good strainer. At least I hope so. I got 2 layers. So we'll just see. Boy, there's some real sludge at the bottom. Okay. So it looks like it all went through pretty quick. I could probably strain it a second time, but I don't think I'm going to get that fastidious. That doesn't look too bad. So let's, without any further ado, I still had some on the brush, so I probably ought to get that off when I first stirred it up. It's only been seconds, but my gosh, this stuff is really working well on this red oak compared to another one that doesn't have anything applied. It's going to hit different parts of the wood differently. It's going to absorb more in the end grain. Since this was a cross grain, here's the pith. It's going to absorb more in that area. I put some in the inside and outside liberally with this chip brush. If it's not dark enough after it dries, I'll probably do another coat.
Not all woods work with this process. This is red oak and it works extremely well. Some, like maple, don't do too well. You can do different things. You can use tea bags to add tannins to it, but I'm just using red oak and it works great.
So the next decorating technique I'm going to use is using metal reactive paint. This is the same technique that I used on, I'll have a link to it here, decorating my lanterns, some of them, and it works real well. This was an old kit that I've had for years. They no longer sell it, but you can get something from Modern Masters. I'll have a link in the show notes if you're interested in finding something similar. But you've got, typically you can find iron, copper, bronze, and brass. And most of the processes tell you to use some type of sealer on it first. I haven't ever done that and haven't had a problem with anything leaking through. So I'm just going to put on 2 coats. You put on 1 coat and you let it dry, and then you put on a second coat. And while it's still damp, you're going to use this special spritzer stuff you put on it that causes it to react. And you can either spray it or you can dab it on with a sea sponge. We'll see what works. I need to find a little cup to pour some of this into. Because these mixtures have little pieces of metal in them, filings or something, you really need to shake them up real good. I dropped a little ball bearing in each one of them to make it a little easier to get it thoroughly mixed. In this case, I'm using B2, which I think is bronze. I'm not sure. Alright, so we'll try some of this. It's a brown color. No, this is a big chunk. Okay, I'm just going to pour a liberal amount in this little plastic thing, and then we're just going to coat it. So it's been a few hours, and now I'm going on with a second coat, the wet coat, that I will spray the stuff on. You don't need to sand too much on these, since you're going to put this paint on it. You don't need to really sand much past probably 150. My spritzer top quit working, but I found another one in the shop. It seems to be working just fine. Alright, so I've got it misted. Let's see what happens. Meanwhile, I'm going to go wash this brush.
The bronze didn't seem to react too much, so I went back and dabbed a few spots of wet brass and put a little brass around the beads and hit it with a spray again. And I did the inside with just plain red acrylic paint like Richard Raffin does, and I kind of like that.
I thought I'd finished shooting and editing this video on pots when I had a fourth pot, and I decided, you know, I'm going to try this one a little different. So what I did with this fourth pot, I had to go back and re-edit the video, was I used this Chromacraft dye, which I like a lot. It's got a little bit of alcohol in it. And it's also got shellac in it, so it dries pretty quick. And I took this pot and dried it in the microwave, similar to the other one. Actually, this one I didn't even dry in the microwave. I just let it sit for a few days. I applied green with just a rag, and because I had these beads, it didn't get in between the beads, so the white of the wood was still showing. I went back and applied some black dye, just hit some of the highlights and a couple of areas I missed, just to add a little bit of darkness to it and darken the green. And then I decided, you know, what would really work well for this is to use some liming wax. Basically, liming wax is a wax with a white color, and once you buy a can, the chances are it's going to be in your estate sale. I've had this one probably 15 years, and I've barely scratched the surface to it. If you want a really cheap version, you could probably do a DIY mix. If you have some paste wax, you can go out and buy some oil, titanium white, and mix the two together in small batches and do it just fine. But I rubbed that in between here and rubbed it in real good, and then I rubbed the whole thing down so it gets in the pores. And when you have a coarse grain such as ash or oak, it works out and gives it a really nice kind of a finish. I let it dry for a few minutes, don't let it get completely dry, and then I just took a rag and just really rubbed and scrubbed on it. I didn't want to get it on my buffer because I was afraid I'd get this transferred to my buffing wheels. But so it's got a wax finish all over it. It's kind of dull looking, but I'm not going to put any additional finish on it, and that's a different look. Here's a little more dramatic example of using that technique where I had this ash bowl with a prominent grain, and I dyed it black, and then I rubbed in this liming wax, and you can see how it gets in these pores within the grain and really makes a interesting finish. I textured the outside. Not necessarily real happy with this, but you can see what drama the white adds. And now we'll move on to what was the third, but now it's going to be the fourth, just the standard Minwax Antique oil finish. This third one I'm going to use is Minwax Antique oil, which is really no longer available. I'm going to have to substitute something else. I've been playing with wipe-on poly, but I'm not sure I like it for most things. So basically I pour just a tiny little bit into a little plastic cup, and then I use a little piece of t-shirt, and then I just wipe it down real good. I use various coats. I'm not sure I'll even finish the inside. I probably use a minimum of 3 coats, maybe as many as 5. So it'll build up a shine. You just apply it liberally, let it soak in, and then rub it real well. It does tend to amber the piece a little bit, but that's never bothered me. It's always seemed to be a pleasant look. Let's burn my name, oak on the bottom, and then the year. So here are the final versions. The first one is metal reactive paint, going from left to right. The next one is the Ebonizing. Then up front I've got the one with just Minwax Antique oil, and lastly the one that has green dye with a little bit of black and liming wax. I'd be interested in which one finish you like best. Leave it in the comments. Remember, y'all stay safe. Come on back, you hear? You guys know how much I love to teach, or I wouldn't be making these videos. So I do teach lessons in my shop. If you live in the Atlanta area, you got relatives in the Atlanta area, or you're just traveling through, check it out. Details on my webpage.